Beyond goals, beyond headlines, beyond the golden boots and glittering trophies, the true story of every World Cup winning team is written in the quiet moments, the unseen movements, and the sacrifices that never make highlight reels. Because football at its highest level is not decided by who scores the most spectacular goals, but by who does the invisible work when the cameras are not looking. And if you trace every champion from Uruguay in 1930 to Argentina in 2022, you'll find a common thread running through them all: unsung roles that defined destiny. Think about it. Goals are moments, but structure is a system, and systems win tournaments. The water carriers who never stop running, the defenders who hold the line when pressure crushes lungs, the midfielders who control tempo without flair, the fullbacks who track back endlessly, the goalkeepers whose single save changes history, and even the substitutes who accept silence until destiny calls them. The World Cup is not a league season where brilliance can compensate for imbalance. It is a brutal, short tournament where one mistake ends a nation's dream. That's why unsung heroes matter more here than anywhere else. Take the concept of positional discipline, for example, something fans rarely celebrate. When France won in 1998 and again in 2018, the spotlight went to Zidane, Mbappé, and Griezmann, but the foundation was built by players like Didier Deschamps and N'Golo Kanté, men whose work rate allowed stars to shine. Kanté in 2018 was everywhere and nowhere at once, intercepting, pressing, covering space so efficiently that opponents lost rhythm without even realizing why. He didn't score in the knockout stages, but France doesn't lift the trophy without him. That's the power of the unsung role: influence without applause. Then there's the defensive organizer, the player who sees danger before it forms. Think of Fabio Cannavaro in 2006, a defender who read the game like a chess grandmaster. Italy conceded just 2 goals in that entire World Cup, one an own goal and the other a penalty. Cannavaro didn't just defend, he commanded, organized, and inspired calm under pressure. While Totti and Pirlo created magic, it was Cannavaro's leadership that turned Italy into an unbreakable wall. The same story echoes in Germany's 2014 triumph, where Mats Hummels, Jerome Boateng, and Philipp Lahm formed the spine that allowed the team to dominate both physically and tactically. Everyone remembers the 7-1 demolition of Brazil, but few remember how Germany's defensive structure suffocated Brazil's emotional chaos before the first goal even went in. Then there are the midfield anchors, the heartbeat of every champion. Players like Sergio Busquets in Spain's 2010 victory redefined what importance looks like. He didn't score, he didn't assist, but he controlled space, intercepted passes, and recycled possession with surgical precision. Spain's tiki-taka only worked because Busquets existed as the silent conductor. Without him, Xavi and Iniesta don't have freedom. Without him, Spain's dominance collapses. That World Cup wasn't won by flair alone. It was won by discipline, patience, and positional intelligence. And let's not forget the defensive midfielders who commit tactical fouls, who break rhythm, who absorb pressure, jobs that never make highlight videos but win tournaments. Then there's the psychological role, perhaps the most overlooked of all. World Cups are emotional wars. Pressure crushes even the greatest players. That's where leaders without armbands step up. Players who calm teammates, who keep belief alive after conceding, who enforce focus in the tunnel before penalties. Think of Argentina in 2022. Yes, Messi was the heartbeat, the dream, the magic, but behind him were players like Rodrigo De Paul, who ran himself into the ground every match, defending, pressing, protecting Messi's space. Emiliano Martínez didn't just make saves, he played mind games, dominated penalty shootouts, and shifted momentum with pure mentality. His role went far beyond goalkeeping. He became a psychological weapon. Argentina didn't win because of talent alone. They won because of emotional resilience built by unsung warriors. Even substitutes play roles far greater than minutes suggest. Think of Mario Götze in 2014, barely featured, then suddenly called upon in the final, scoring one of the most iconic goals in football history. But what people forget is that his readiness, his mental preparation, his acceptance of a secondary role made that moment possible. Many players fail not because of lack of ability, but because they cannot accept being in the shadows until the moment arrives. Winning teams need players who embrace that silence. Coaches, too, rely heavily on unsung contributors, analysts, fitness coaches, medical teams, and tacticians who plan for scenarios fans never imagine. World Cups are won by margins, by recovery times, hydration, tactical tweaks, and emotional management. One wrong substitution, one exhausted player, one misread opponent, and history changes. The unseen preparation is often the real victory. Even referees and VAR decisions play silent roles, shaping narratives without ever being credited. And then there's the ultimate unsung role, sacrifice. Players playing out of position, stars tracking back, attackers defending corners, veterans mentoring youngsters, egos being suppressed for the team. When France won in 2018, stars accepted tactical discipline. When Spain won in 2010, they accepted slow football over flashy dominance. When Argentina won in 2022, they accepted suffering, penalties, extra time, heartbreak, pressure. That willingness to suffer together is the true mark of champions. Football history glorifies goals, but tournaments are won by structure, mentality, and unity. The World Cup doesn't reward individuals, it crowns systems. Every trophy is built on thousands of invisible actions: a tracked runner who never stops, a defender who never panics, a substitute who stays ready, a leader who never doubts, and a team that believes when belief is hardest. Beyond goals, beyond glory, beyond headlines, the World Cup belongs to those who master the unseen. And that is why the greatest teams in history are not remembered just for how they scored, but for how they suffered, adapted, trusted, and endured together, proving that football's highest prize is never won by stars alone, but by the silent strength of those willing to do everything that doesn't show up on the scoreboard. In the end, when the noise fades, the confetti settles, and the trophies are lifted high above trembling hands, what truly remains of a World Cup victory is not a single goal, not a single star, not even a single moment of brilliance, but the collective story of sacrifice that made glory possible. Because football at this level is never about perfection. It is about endurance, balance, humility, and belief sustained over weeks of relentless pressure. The World Cup is the ultimate test of human limits, where talent alone is exposed as insufficient, where fame dissolves under expectation, and where unity survives. Every champion, without exception, is built on a foundation of invisible labor: the runner who never stops, the defender who never panics, a substitute who stays ready, a leader who never doubts, and a team that believes when belief is hardest. History remembers the goal scorers, but history is shaped by those who made the goal possible in the first place. The reason the World Cup holds such emotional power is because it mirrors life itself. Success is never the result of one moment, but of countless unseen efforts stacked on top of each other until something extraordinary emerges. When a team lifts the trophy, they lift every sprint that went unnoticed, every tactical sacrifice, every silent acceptance of role, every moment of discipline over ego. That is why so many of the most iconic teams in history were not the most glamorous, but the most complete. They understood that football is a game of space, timing, and trust. They understood that brilliance shines brightest when supported by structure. They understood that stars burn out without systems, and systems collapse without belief. The World Cup punishes arrogance and rewards humility. It exposes selfishness and elevates unity. That is why so many favorites fall and so many underdogs arise, because the tournament doesn't care about reputation, only about response. Every pass under pressure, every recovery run, every moment of concentration becomes a thread in the fabric of destiny. And when the final whistle blows, what separates champions from the rest is not talent alone, but resilience, intelligence, and togetherness. The greatest teams are not those with the loudest names, but those who move as one, suffer as one, and triumph as one. They understand that football is not a solo performance, but a collective symphony, where even the quietest instrument matters. In the end, beyond goals, beyond glory, beyond trophies and tears, the World Cup teaches a timeless lesson: that true greatness is built in silence, forged in sacrifice, and revealed only when everything is on the line. It is won not by heroes chasing immortality, but by teams willing to disappear into the cause of something bigger than themselves. And that is why long after the goals are forgotten and the celebrations fade, the greatest World Cup champions are not remembered just for how spectacular they were, but for how completely